if you're getting into networking, or maybe you want to install some cameras in the near future and you want to save some money, you should first learn how to create an RJ45 cable, also known as an Ethernet cable to most consumers. Now, an Ethernet cable is basically just a wire that sends data between a medium. It can be a router to a computer, a router to a camera. An RJ45 head is this here, or rather the socket for it. This is the actual head. Now, I know that it's more convenient to go out and measure the distance for whatever it is that you're going to be installing and order the cable already made. But I promise you, this is a skill that you're going to want to learn, and it'll save you money in the long run. So the most important part of any of this is actually getting the material. You want to make sure that you get yourself some RJ45 cable, or better known as Ethernet cable. I just keep calling it that. The next tool you're going to want is a wire cutter. This is a lineman's tool. That works fine, or just a regular wire cutter that you can get off of Harbor Freight for $20. I like using this one simply because it cuts it so nicely and it's so just pristine. After that, you're going to want to get yourself some RJ45 heads. These are what those look like. Now, these are the pass-through ones. I'll explain more about what those mean later. And again, any of these tools you can find in my link below. After you get yourself the proper material, which is the Ethernet heads and the Ethernet cable, you can go ahead and pick yourself up one of these. These are some very cheap tools that you can find. I'll link them again in the description below. And yeah, besides that, you're going to need yourself a wire cutter or a blade. I'm trying to use minimal tools here just for anyone who wants to do this at home. Nothing fancy. The only thing fancy really is this piece, which is absolutely necessary because it is what connects the cable to this head. Right, so now that we have our material and our tools, we need to actually strip the wire. But before I do that, I just want to remind everybody, you should really be wearing your protective glasses, even if you're just watching someone else do it near you. That just means if you're working with them. I mean, if you're not working and you're a customer watching someone do it, that's fine. But if you're doing any type of work, please use your glasses. And also, I know some of you are probably going to say that my hands are dirty, and that's fine. If you want to be a princess, you can go get yourself some gloves. I always recommend getting gloves. Right, so on to the actual stripping. I like to take my blade and be very careful here, okay? I like to just do a circular motion of the wire and not too deep because you will cut the inside of it and you need to make sure you don't. This cable is a little more difficult to work with. I do a lot of commercial installations, so I need to use UV graded Ethernet cable, which means that this is a lot tougher and also much more costly. You see, when the cable is exposed to environmental elements, a lot of that can really seep into the cable itself. So if you're doing in-house installations, you obviously don't need this type of cable. The type of cable that you're actually going to need is like something like this. I don't know if you could see that in the camera, but this is the cable that I'm demonstrating with. I really should have used this cable since it's more like for residential, but this is more malleable. You can get through a lot of stuff and you don't really have to worry if this is going to be inside. This is more like outside wire. Like I said, commercial purposes, applications, things like that. Yeah. Once you slice the jacket, you want to bend and you want to gut it. Once you see that gut and you don't see, the shield inside of it slashed, that means you're good to go. You can probably work your way around it, but because this cable is thick, I'm going to finish it. And that's it. You start to pull on it, okay? You want to pull the shield off, this black piece. What you'll find inside is a little tether that you can use to pull on, and it's supposed to strip the jacket further. Again, because this is a high quality cable, it's not going to do it so easily. After that, you begin twisting. Now, the part where you twist, you actually want to press your fingers together and twist like this while also moving your hand. And I'm going to show you in just a little bit. So once you actually expose the 4 colors, you're going to have typically a shield, and maybe in this case a plastic shield, again just as double protection. You want to bring these down as much as possible, and my cable comes with a copper cable at the tip. You can take this cable and you can wrap it around so that these shieldings stay in place. After that, I like to do the following. I like to split the colors outwards towards their own direction, almost like a compass. So you have north, west, south, and east. This keeps things organized here. Next, you want to actually take one and twist. You want to undo them all, okay? The green tea method. This is basically just a way for me to remember how I'm going to wire these together. What you have is basically a teacup, and you have green tea. How do you make green tea? You need to walk to the stove, turn it on, and let the stove heat up. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. I just want to make sure you guys can see. Once you do that, you think about making green tea. Right, so I have to turn on the stove. Think about warm colors. Okay, I'm turning on the stove. Then you want to put your tea bag into the teacup. So you take your teacup, which is represented by this green white wire, and you place it inside the cup. After that, you wait for the water to boil. And as the water is boiling, you're waiting, you fill the pot up with water, and then it starts to boil. Once it starts to boil, you want to take your water and place it in the cup. After doing so, you take your green tea bag and you start to teabag, right? Once you're done teabagging, you want to add your brown sugar to the cup. Now, this is where I don't want you to get confused. I know that I use the striped as the cup analogy, but you want to make sure that the solid is at the end, okay? So think about warm colors transitioning into cooler colors and then earthly colors, okay? So you got your cup, you're setting up the stove, you put your tea bag inside the cup, you fill the pot with water, you fill the cup with water, then you teabag, and you've got your brown sugar in there. So once these are all aligned, you want to actually straighten them out as much as possible. Right, so once you have this done, these tools usually come with a diagram, so I literally just looked at this now. You could just look at this and obviously you'll get it done, but if you want to actually memorize it, then I think the green tea method is pretty cool. So first you want to deactivate the lock, take the safety off, insert this into the cutting tool. So why am I cutting this if this is already cut? The reason why I'm cutting this once I've got it all aligned is because I want the straight edges at the end to be straight. So I know that didn't come out correctly, but this is just a matter of making sure that everything is nice and neat. Once you've got that done, you're going to take your RJ45 head and you're going to feed it through. Very simple. You're just going to push and it should slide right through. Look at how beautiful that is. Now, I know you've got this left over, and what I like to do, a wire cutter, and I snip it as close to the necktie as possible. Wow, these are quite dull. It out. We're gonna pull it back. Now this is important. You want to make sure that you see the shielding inside of the RJ45.
So you're gonna
make sure that that shielding passes this line here. I'm not sure if you could see that, but that's very important, okay? you're gonna take your tool, your crimper. There's a little pass-through and a razor back there. When you press down on it, it cuts and presses down on the RJ45 head. I'm gonna try to do this so you guys can see it as I'm passing it through. Again, you wanna make sure that this is as straight as possible so that it's not annoying to you. I will now feed this through. You want to also look through the back to make sure you're not missing any wires or any wires are bending. You also want to make sure that you press in completely. You can even pull from the back if you'd like. And once that's all set, you crimp the RJ45 head. And you do this a few times just to make sure that there's nothing missing. And there you have it. How to make an Ethernet cable at home. I have the links for all the tools down below, and if you have any questions, please feel free to just message me, either here or on any of my socials. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. You guys take care. We'll chat soon.